Hello and welcome. My name is Kata, and today I'm going to be talking about the 10 steps to overcoming yourself. This is something that I kind of wrote out in notes, so I do apologize. I will be reading off the paper quite a bit, but it's a lot of notes. So I have about 6 pages of information that kind of came through that I felt I needed to share, so I'm going to be reading some of it off. So 10 steps to overcoming yourself. This is something that comes up in conversation with people, with clients that I work with, simply because I find a lot of people have a difficult time overcoming themselves. As a matter of fact, we all have a difficult time overcoming ourselves. So the ultimate goal is for us to be able to really break our own bad habits, bad patterns that we right now identify with ourselves as being a part of us. But if you can break those patterns, then you can release them and move forward and really start to open up the road of life in front of you. So I'm going to go through the 10 steps. Again, I'll be reading some of them off. So the very first one to overcoming yourself is stop thinking, I can't. I know that sounds very simple, but you'd be surprised how many people have this belief, how many people share this belief that they can't do something. And it's simply a belief. It is nothing more. It is not necessarily reality. It is not necessarily the truth. It is simply a belief that they have. And that belief, I find in most cases, comes from outside of us. So, somebody said something to us when we were children, or a teacher or a parent says something that, made you feel like you couldn't. And it's really sad, but it happens, and it happens a lot, and it happens very unconsciously. I don't think parents or teachers or people intentionally, some people do, but most people don't intentionally try to put children or people down. It just happens due to lack of awareness, in my opinion. So stop thinking I can't. I can't quit my bad habits, or I can't lose weight, or that I can't heal, or I can't get better, or that I can't improve. Stop having these thoughts, because the more you allow them to circulate in your mind, the more they become a part of your mind's circuitry. It becomes kind of locked in there after a while, and then it can be very difficult to break that cycle. So again, the whole I can't doesn't stem from you. It's usually other people's opinions, which has nothing to do with reality. So think about for a second, what is reality? What is my reality? Well, reality is what you create through your thoughts and your feelings. That is your daily reality. That is what you experience on a daily basis. So whatever you choose to create as your reality will become your reality. But that is a choice, and that is up to you. So the next time that little voice in your head says, I can't about anything, change my job, go back to school, or do anything, anytime that you feel that I can't, you got to ask yourself the question, is that reality? Do I create that reality that I can't? Or is that just a belief that I have that I can't? And what if I change that belief? What would happen then? So a little food for thought there for the first one. Number 2 in 10 steps to overcoming yourself is take responsibility for your own life. Another one I run into quite often with people. Sometimes people have difficulty taking responsibility for their own life, because taking responsibility would mean that they would have to admit that they have perhaps messed up, or that they've done something wrong, or that they just simply didn't make good choices. But you know what? That's okay. Like, we're all here to learn. And if you understand that about yourself, that you're here to learn, you're not here to be judged really by anyone. You will be judged by everyone, and that's kind of a part of human nature, but that's okay. Those judgments don't matter. It really, really doesn't. So just take responsibility for anything that you know is yours, and leave everything that is not at the door. So don't take responsibility for other people's stuff, or situations or circumstances, only your own. But be willing to own it, because I assure you, when you are ready to own your own life and you can own your mistakes, that's when you really can learn from them. That's when you get to integrate the knowledge. It can't happen otherwise if you're not willing to own it, because at that point you're disowning it, you're pushing it away, you're resisting it. and you're saying, no, 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 I didn't mess up. No, 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 I'm good. Really? So take responsibility for your own life. Blaming others, also actually a point here, disempowers us to take action to fix whatever is not working in your life. So again, do you want to feel disempowered? Because that's what happens when you blame. Or do you want to just say, you know what? I see that this is my piece in this situation. Okay, maybe the rest of it belongs to the other person, but this is my piece, and I'm going to own this piece and say, yeah, you know, the red flags were there and I kind of ignored them. So that's on me. That's not on them. Even that alone that's taking responsibility for your own life. That's owning it. And that's so powerful, because at that point, you're not giving that power away through blame. Now you're harnessing it. It's within you, and you're owning it. So I find that's very, very powerful. Just own it, man. It's okay. It's okay. We all mess up. Number 3 is, I'm not that type. This is something I hear too. This doesn't work for me. So the I'm not that type and it doesn't work for me, that can come with spiritual stuff. So of course, doing spiritual counseling with people, you know, I've heard that they come or there's an openness, they want to try it, or perhaps it's just curiosity. But then I'll say something and it's like, well, you know, that's not going to work for me because I'm not there. Well, again, that's a choice. You're saying that you're not there, but are you really not there? Or are you just afraid to go there? And perhaps that's why you're not willing to own that. So the whole, I'm not that type, this doesn't work for me. What if you change that belief? What you believe and don't believe is up to you. That's not up to anybody else. And that's not up to anything else. So again, it's this openness, this flexibility when it comes to change is what is required, because as soon as you shut that door and you're just like, nah, it's not going to work for me, I'm not that type of person, I'm not spiritual enough, and I'm not this enough or that enough, then you just close that door in that moment immediately, and you are now no longer giving yourself an opportunity to actually experience something that could be wonderful for you, could be healing for you, life-changing. So a really great analogy for this, I'm not that type, doesn't work for me. It's like, think of it this way. Your mind is like a parachute. And think about when you jump out of an airplane. Do you want that parachute to be open or closed? Right? And if the mind is like a parachute, if the mind is not open, then you're not coasting to the ground. You're going to crash land. And in most cases, so it's like your mind is like a parachute. It only works if it's open. Keeping it closed equals free falling with no safety net below. And that's really truly how I see it. Anybody with a closed mind, anyone that is not open to new ideas or just not willing to shift their way of thinking because they're so stuck in the way that they are thinking, it really truly is like closing your parachute in life, because you're now giving no opportunity to yourself to expand, to allow fresh ideas, new things to come in. So again, a little food for thought there on that one. And then for this number 3, the I'm not that type, doesn't work for me anyway, or doesn't work for me. What I want to say is, like, whose idea is this anyway? Is this truly your idea? Or was this a seed that was perhaps planted into your mind a long, long time ago, perhaps by parents, anyone around you that was, you know, in your environment? I find that is a very, very common issue, is most of us adopt other people's ideas and then we think it's our truth. We make it our truth. And it isn't necessarily, it's 100% other people's ideas, but you hear it and then somehow we believe it. And unfortunately that goes for a lot of negative things. A lot of negative can stick with people that they were told. So question your ideas and question that closed-mindedness as well, you know, and ask yourself, whose idea was that to close my mind? Is that my idea? Why? So think about that. Number 4, what will others think? Love this one. Again, so common, so common. See it all the time. So what will others think if I choose to do things differently? If I improve my life? If I don't follow convention? You're not here to live your life based on other people's opinions. You are here to make the best possible life for yourself in a way that works for you. However weird or unconventional it may seem. So this is where I say, let your freak flag fly like 100%. Don't worry about what other people think. Just be you, do you, be authentic, the best version of yourself, and never mind what people do. A lot of times people have a difficult time accepting change. They have a difficult time accepting anything outside of convention. And again, that goes back to the parachute situation where closed mind, closed parachute. You know what I'm saying? So it's not reality. It is not practical. It's something we have to move past, I think, as a society, not just as individuals, because we're not here to live our lives based on other people's opinions or wants. We're here to live it for ourselves. We are here to learn, to grow, to expand to our fullest capacity, but that has to be done on our own terms. So when sometimes people come to me and they want to change somebody else, I explain to them that you can't. It is not your job. It is not your responsibility. Your only job and responsibility is to take care of you, own your own stuff, and worry about your own life. And let other people live their life the way they choose to live it without you judging them for it or hating them for it or disowning them for it. Let people be who they are. That means let yourself be who you are wholeheartedly, authentically, 100%. Oh yeah, one last piece here for this one is that most people actually worry about what you're thinking. So it's so funny because we're all worrying about what other people think, but those other people are worrying about what we think. So isn't that silly? We kind of go back and forth and play ping pong with this, like, well, I wonder what they're thinking. Well, and then they're thinking, well, I wonder what she's thinking. Well, we're all entitled to our opinion. Does it really matter? I don't think so. I really don't think so. I think we should kind of just keep our things to ourselves. Like, think whatever you want. As long as it feels good for you, do it. Number 5, things are not possible for me because this is my karma. I've heard that one too. I've also heard it's in my astro chart, so it's for sure gonna happen. No, I just would like to clarify, the astrological chart, the birth chart of an individual, does not mean whatever planetary positions you have. It doesn't mean that that is like set and final and that's exactly what's going to happen. Those are all potentials. Some stuff is stronger potential than others. It's always about aspects, right? And what aspects what and how things are positioned. But in most cases, that is not reality once again. And karma is something that we are actually experiencing and creating on a daily basis. So yes, certain things are karmic. Working with clients, I definitely understand that. And what that really means is that karma means that you've sort of signed up with another soul to come in to learn some lessons, some valuable lessons, so that your soul and theirs can learn and grow and evolve and actually become a higher frequency, a higher vibrational being while you are here on planet Earth. So yes, certain things can be karmic, but to say that things are not possible for me because it's karma or because I have bad karma or because it's in my astrological chart, I would say that's a silly thing to kind of believe, because again, it's far from reality. Everything that is in the astrological chart is there to show you. It's a guidance system. It's like, these are the possibilities. Here's some possible negative outcomes. Here's some possible good outcomes. And how do you choose to navigate? So if I look at my own astrology chart, I've noticed that, yeah, I have a lot of aspects that could be negative or not that great. But you know what? It's actually up to me how negative it's going to end up being, or how much I end up experiencing that. So because I always have choice, like, we can't forget that we always have free will. While you're here on Earth and living your life on a daily basis, you always have free will to choose, to make choices. So yes, some things can be sort of preordained and preset, but in most situations, your free choice will shift things in that chart. It won't necessarily be fixed and boom, that's how it is, and there's no changing it. So that's just something that I've observed and I've noticed. Yes, and karma actually also means difficulty, not impossible. So just keep that in mind with that word. Pair it up with karma equals difficulty, not impossible. Number 6, I'm too scared to do it. I've heard that one a whole lot, and I've experienced that a whole lot too. So just because you're afraid to do something, it doesn't mean you can't. And I know that's, you know, we all know this intellectually. So for example, like if you're afraid of the dentist, but you know that you need to go, you know that you need to get some dental work done. You're afraid of it, but you can do it, and you go and you get it done, or not. And if you don't, then you will suffer the consequences. But in most cases, there are so many things in life, I find, that we are fearful of, but then we can do them anyway, you know, and fear is usually just a limitation within yourself. It's not something, again, that's fixed. It's just a limitation within yourself. And I find most people are afraid of things that they have not experienced before. That's the biggest. That's like, everybody is always afraid of things they haven't experienced before. But then I remind them, like, if you don't give yourself the chance to experience it, then how are you going to know if you can overcome it or not? And 99% of the time, people overcome their stuff. Like, we can. I'm going to give like a personal example here for this one. I'm too scared to do it, because I feel like it's a very fitting example. I went to Peru in 2019, and it was like a trip of a lifetime. Let me just put it that way. It was the trip. And I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified to go. It was my first solo trip. It was the first time that I had traveled by myself without anyone accompanying me, and it was very scary. I was going to a third world country, essentially. On top of that, I was going to stay in the jungle for 10 days alone with, I mean, it was a small resort, but it was just very few people there. It was definitely like the adventure of a lifetime. And that trip, like, I was terrified. I was literally crying the morning of my flight, and I had my suitcase packed and my carry-on, and I was sitting on the couch terrified to go, because there was just so much fear and anxiety coming up about, oh my goodness, with, you know, the what ifs, like, what if this happens? What if that happens? And I'm by myself. And you know what? It was just something within me just knew that I had to do it. I knew it because I knew that it would create this stronger, better version of me as a result. And I didn't want to miss out on that opportunity. Excuse me. And I am so glad that I made the choice to go, because in going, it ended up becoming, oh my God, like truly the trip of a lifetime. I overcame like 10 fears. Easy. Like, you know, I saw palm-sized tarantulas like every day, crawling around all over the place. Like, I'm in the jungle, okay? And I was staying in a treehouse. So fully exposed to the elements, fully exposed to nature at its finest and nature at its pure raw form. And I have to just mention, if any of you have been to the Peruvian Amazon, you will know that every other insect or bug or frog or tree is poisonous. So you have to be so careful in terms of what you touch, and just what you eat, like everything. So that was just in tying into this number 6 point, I'm too scared to do it. Well, that was like a major overcoming. But you know what, when I did it and afterwards, I was like, hands down, best trip ever. And I'm so glad. I'm so glad. Like, I love spiders now. I think they're so cute. I have absolutely no issues with spiders. I have no issues with snakes. That was something that was also used to bother me. What else? Water. Oh my gosh, water is a huge one for me. Open-bodied water, I was absolutely terrified of. I've had this, I don't know, trauma or something ever since I was young. I've really, really been afraid of swimming in lakes or rivers or anything open or moving. I'm okay in a pool, and that's about it. And it was right there. The Amazon River was right there. And one of the days, my guide asked me if that was something that I was interested in doing. He said, "Do you want to go swimming with the dolphins?" And that sounds lovely, doesn't it? But swimming with pink dolphins in the Amazon River is a very different story. Okay, this is no marine land. Let me tell you. And the pink dolphins look a little strange. They don't look like the normal gray dolphins. They have very snouty, different looking heads and stuff. So anyway, you know, to say the least, it was terrifying. But I did it. I was like, oh my God, like I sat there and I just had to breathe and breathe and breathe. And then I overcame the fear and I went in. And it was the murkiest, unclear water that I've ever seen. The Amazon River, because it is fast flowing, it's constantly eroding the shores. So there's just a lot of sand and dirt being washed into it. So it's really not very clear at all. Like you can't even see like an inch down. So that was pretty special to do that. And again, when I did, I crawled back into that boat and I was like, oh my God, I'm a fucking rock star. Like I just did that. Excuse my language, but that's how I felt in that moment because it was huge. That was so huge for me to overcome that fear. And in doing so in that moment, I felt so liberated. I felt so free. So I can do anything. It was awesome. Awesome. So I'm too scared to do it. No more excuses. Okay. Don't use that as an excuse. And, you know, you ask yourself too, what if I wasn't scared? What if I wasn't scared to do this? What if I just gave it a go and just see what happens? Something to consider. And then here's a very good one. So being brave is not about overcoming fear, but about being afraid and doing it anyway. So feel the fear and do it anyway. That's what happened to me at the Amazon River. There I was, feeling the fear. Oh my God, like crazy, but I did it anyway. And then afterwards, the fear I laughed in its face. There was nothing to it anymore. Number 7, I need to understand it all before I can take action. Not true. This is another hidden version of procrastination, by the way. So we actually come to understand things as we experience them and do them. Just start doing and the understanding will come, is what I wrote here for this one, because that really is the case. You don't need to understand it fully. You don't need to understand any situation or any specific thing fully before you can take action. Start taking action now, even if it's just little tiny baby steps that you're going to start moving towards that goal or that thing that you want to accomplish. And you truly will understand it as you experience it. I find there's a big difference between book smart people and experienced people. People that are going through the motions, are having the experience, they're doing something like with their hands and stuff. That's a very, very different thing. And everyone knows that gaining experience in life just gives you so much more knowledge actually than just reading something out of a textbook. It's very different, very different. So don't forget that the experience matters more and that the learning is going to come from the experience. Number 8 in our list of 10 steps to overcoming yourself. I've already tried that. It didn't work for me. That's something that I've heard a lot. So just because something didn't work for you in the past, it doesn't mean that it won't work again. Remember that you tried it in the past based on who you were then, but you're different now because you've gained experience in the process of life. Time has passed. Your knowledge base has expanded to some degree. So you're not going to approach it in exactly the same way. You're going to approach it with a different experience, with a different level of experience. So anything that you've tried that didn't work before, then I would say, just because something didn't work for you, okay, I said that already, sorry. So you've changed since, and the more you're willing to change, the more you erase your self-doubt and past conditioning. That's right, because it was the past conditioning I wanted to talk about. And that is why usually something that you did in the past, you couldn't do because you were in a certain state of conditioning at that time and you weren't actually necessarily prepared for it. So it's the conditioning that we need to work on. Number 9, I don't have enough luck, enough money, talent, health, time. I don't have the diplomas. I don't have motivation. I don't have inspiration. These are all things that I've heard before from clients. The luck and the money one, those are good because I find those are completely irrelevant. The I don't have enoughs are, again, procrastination. These are kind of excuses, to be honest, that hold you back, that prevent you from really taking that risk, taking action. I would say, and I say to people, like, don't wait for these things to come, just start. And those things will show up actually as you start. Don't forget that anything that you take action on starts to create momentum. So there's a momentum that starts to unfold as you start taking action. And the more action you take, the more that momentum picks up and it goes faster and faster and faster. But if you don't even start, where's the momentum coming from? It can't come from anywhere. And so that was number 9. And number 10 is I don't have confidence. That's a big one I've heard too from a lot of people when I suggest that they try other stuff. And then with this piece, the I don't have confidence, I'm going to say, who gives a shit? Do it anyway. You don't need to have the confidence to do it. The confidence also comes in doing, I find. You experience, and then that builds your confidence. The doing gives you the experience, which builds the confidence. So the 10 points basically, and I can go through them again quickly, all of them basically stem from your belief system. So none of these represent reality. These are all belief systems that I have experienced and heard from people in working with them. So the belief system is compiled based on experience and usually actually other people's projections. And I kind of highlighted that one because other people's projections is one of the biggest influencers I find for most people. It's people that present ideas or certain things, or they'll say certain things to me. They're not even their ideas half the time. They're projections of other people, and they're other people's ideas. So kind of check in with yourself, from time to time, like, what I'm believing right now, is this somebody else's projection about me? Like, say, confidence. Somebody, and it's sad, but I've seen this, like, where a parent will diminish their child's confidence and, call them stupid or tell them that they're not good enough or whatnot, or just do it in other verbal ways. And, it's so sad because it's like that parent has now planted that seed in that child's mind, and that child will now not have confidence because of that projection, because of that parent's projection. It was never the truth. It was never the reality. Every child is born 100% confident. Actually, if you really look at toddlers, and babies, they're such a good example of that. Like, they come in confident and they're not afraid of anything. Fear doesn't exist for them until we plant that seed, oh, you better not do that, and and right, all these cautions that we impose upon children plants the fear seed, and then it builds it, and it allows it to grow bigger and bigger. And I find most of those are the parents' fears projected onto the kid. It has nothing to do with the kid, and it's not the child's fear at all. It's parental projection. So if you are a parent, be mindful of that, because unfortunately, we can really mess up our children if we're not mindful of those things. We diminish their light and their confidence and their self-worth and their value in terms of how they feel about themselves. So don't be, helicopter parent hovering all the time and like let them try, let them fall, obviously within reason. Don't let them do anything dangerous, but let them stumble and fall and pick up and so that they can experience that, wow, okay, I can fall but get back up and I'm fine and I can keep going. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about some background belief software that people run. And this is most definitely software. I want to call it software because the mind is an operating system. It's the computer. But the computer has software running inside. And I'm going to say software equals beliefs. So what is your software? What kind of programming do you have? Perhaps you have some viruses in there that need cleaning out, maybe you need to run a CCleaner or Malwarebytes or something, like clean things out. So some background beliefs that people have are change is dangerous. Very first one I wrote down, change is dangerous, it is not safe. And that is survival mode. That's full survival mode. It is not, again, the truth. It is just something that we believe. This can trap you, especially if your comfort zone is pretty tolerable, even though it's gray. So I see this a lot in people's lives where they become stuck in a comfort zone, and they're like, oh, I don't need to change. Especially if your comfort zone is not too bad. If it's tolerable, then you just kind of chill there. And some people could do that for weeks or months or years or a whole lifetime. And during that entire time, their life is gray. There's just not much excitement. There's no exhilaration. There's no fun. There's not much happening because they're so terrified of stepping outside of their comfort zone that, God forbid we change something. Change is not dangerous. As a matter of fact, if you look at life, if you look at the reality of life, change is ever present. It is constant in every moment, in every second. We are changing. Things around us are changing. Sometimes it seems like they're not, and it seems like things are sort of stagnating and the same. But in reality, really no 2 days are the same. Ever, in any capacity, even if you are doing the same thing. Usually there's changes constantly happening. So why not embrace the change and stop being afraid of it?